My name doesn't really matter anymore. Maybe it never did. What matters is that you're hearing this. That something inside the wires still carries a voice through the dark. You're tuned to what's left of the radio, broadcasting from a place that barely stands, in a world that barely moves. I don't know how far this signal reaches. I don't know who's out there. But if you're listening, then we're not completely alone. Not yet. It's 2:08 in the morning, Wednesday, or what used to be Wednesday. We're somewhere near what used to be St. Louis, Missouri. I've locked myself inside a maintenance substation on the southern edge of the old rail corridor. There's a backup generator running off a sealed drum of diesel. If I'm lucky, it'll hold through sunrise. If I'm not, then this might be my last broadcast. Outside, the air feels like breathing in from a stovetop. It hasn't dropped below 103 degrees for 4 nights straight. The concrete holds the heat long after the sun goes down, and the metal siding on the station is warping, curling in some places, like it's trying to peel itself away from the bones of this place. You can hear it shift if you're quiet. It groans when the wind blows, if you can call it wind. It's more like the breath of something dying. I haven't seen stars in a week. The sky's the wrong color now. At night it looks like faded rust. In the day, well, I try not to go outside during the day, not unless I have to. You can feel your skin tightening after just a few minutes. There's no real ozone layer anymore, not where we are. The UV burns through cloud cover like it's not even there. There's been no official word from the National Weather Service since the feed cut out Sunday. No news channels, no weather updates, nothing from NOAA. They used to run emergency alerts every 3 hours. That's gone now. The last one I heard was a level 5 red flag warning, advising all residents across central and southern regions to remain indoors from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., limit outdoor exposure to 5 minutes per hour, and keep hydration levels high. But no one's getting water delivered anymore. That stopped days ago. A caller, before the line died, told me she was in Little Rock, said the asphalt outside her apartment bubbled like boiling syrup. Her name was Kendra. Her voice was cracking, dry, like someone rubbing paper together. Said she saw a delivery truck parked sideways across the interstate, cargo doors open, bottles melted in the crate. The driver was still in the cab. She didn't describe him, just paused, then hung up. If you're out there, Kendra, I hope you found shade. I hope you made it somewhere with airflow. Some of you might still have fans or units running if you're lucky enough to be pulling from an off-grid source. Solar panels are spotty now, too hot in most cases to operate without tripping safety switches. Battery banks are overheating. I've heard of car batteries exploding in garages, people trying to charge lithium backups and waking up to black smoke and chemical fire. It wasn't always this fast. That's what gets me. Last month, we were still getting warnings, rolling heat waves, stress alerts on the grid. People were getting tired of the constant interruptions, but we didn't expect collapse. I didn't. The media was still talking about adaptation strategies, urban heat mitigation plans, shaded transit corridors, rooftop coating projects. I remember a morning anchor cheerfully showing off cool paint tech on the roof of a school in Phoenix. Said it reflected infrared radiation and could drop the internal temp by 3 or 4 degrees. That same school went dark last week. I had someone on the line say the roof buckled. No warning. Just gave out under the heat. Sent the whole HVAC unit crashing into a classroom. I guess paint can't save us now. I should probably explain what I know, or what I've heard. I don't have full confirmation on this, and I want to be clear about that. But I've been piecing things together from calls, emails, when the net was still working, and shortwave bursts from stations farther east. The word some of them are using is stratospheric breakdown, a sudden collapse of upper atmosphere stability over North America. We've had heat domes before, yeah, but not like this. This isn't a weather event anymore. It's a feedback loop. Some retired climatologist out of Purdue got on the line Saturday, said it was what they used to model as the wet bulb ceiling, a point where the air can't absorb sweat fast enough for humans to cool down. He told me, "You hit that line for 6 hours and people start dying in their sleep." His voice was shaking. Said we crossed that line in 4 states already. Maybe more now. He called it a threshold extinction scenario. You might have noticed it already. Birds falling out of trees, wildlife trying to break into basements. The cicadas stopped last week. Not even insects can take this. At night, you don't even hear the dogs anymore. That's what keeps me up. The silence. I'll read a few names now. These are people who got through before the lines dropped. I promised I'd say their names if I could. Kendra from Little Rock. Miguel from Amarillo, who said his whole neighborhood's lawns caught fire when a pressure valve burst. Elaine in Tulsa, who was sheltering in a concrete tunnel near the underpass with 3 other families, only 2 flashlights left. Jared from Las Vegas, said his mother passed out on their porch, said she was trying to wait for the water truck to come back. It never did. You're not forgotten. Not here. Not while I still have air in my lungs and power in this box. I've got a thermal gauge here, mounted it above the door. Right now, it's reading 109 Fahrenheit at 2:14 a.m. That's not an error. I tapped it twice just now to be sure. I don't know what's happening to the crops. A woman from Kansas City sent a voice file before the servers went dark. Said the cornfields were turning to ash, stalks burning from the inside out. She said she saw steam coming off the wheat when the sun hit it. Said her father, a 3rd-generation farmer, walked out into the haze and hasn't come back. We weren't made for this. Our power grid wasn't made for this. Our minds weren't made for this. I'm going to try something risky tonight. I rigged a dish from the rooftop relay to catch a signal from station KJRO near Memphis. Last I heard, they were still broadcasting on 105.2 FM. If they're up, maybe we can get a reading on their end. See if the Mississippi Basin's any cooler, or if it's just as bad. I'll share whatever I get. And if I don't make contact, well, you'll know it went dark there too. I'll pause here for a minute. Let the generator cool. Readings are in the red. Fuel temps spiking from the ambient heat. I need to pour some water over the housing. See if that buys us another hour. Stay with me. I'll be back in 3 minutes if the wiring holds. Still here? Good. Then that means the world hasn't gone completely quiet. Not yet. It's 2:41 a.m. The generator held, barely. Had to wedge open the casing and let the heat bleed out through a side vent. Smells like burnt copper in here now. That oily electric stink that tells you something inside is melting a little faster than it should. I've shut down everything except the board, the mic, and 1 low-band receiver. I'm not going to make it until daylight if I keep burning like this. But I didn't come on just to cut out. I tried Memphis. Static. Not just silence, but that sharp, biting kind of static that tells you the station might still be alive, but the signal's being eaten by the air itself. Maybe their relay tower cooked. Maybe their dish warped in the sun like mine almost did yesterday. Or maybe they're gone. I've tried 3 frequencies now. Nothing but jitter and crackle. I caught something strange, though, on the NOAA band. Just a fragment. A looped message that cut in and out like a ghost. It said, "Region-wide grid collapse. Seeking backup in hardened sites. Repeat, relocation advised for all remaining personnel. Code 604. This is not a drill." And then it vanished. Code 604. I looked it up. Before the servers went down, someone sent me a PDF of FEMA emergency codes. 604 is climate containment breach. It's a term they only used in war games. Never supposed to make it on air. If you're hearing this and you're in the Midwest or South, I don't think help is coming. Not the kind we were trained to expect. There's no helicopters, no bottled water drops, no military caravans pouring down the highway with tents and folding cots. If there's an operation still running, it's not here. The roads are dead. Earlier tonight, I climbed the service ladder up the side of the substation tower. Stupid, I know, but I had to see something. Anything. I made it to the top platform, looked out west, past the curve of the tracks, past the old refinery. There were fires in the distance. Not big ones, not a wall of flame, just little pockets of orange flickering low on the horizon. Someone's trying to cook, maybe, or light up a signal. Or maybe they lost control of a battery backup and it lit their place up from inside. It's hard to tell anymore. I saw something else. Movement. Maybe 2 miles out. A convoy of sorts. No headlights, just silhouettes. Looked like shopping carts and wagons, tarps stretched over frames. A few people, maybe more, walking slow, bundled in blankets even in this heat. You know, the kind of sunburn that peels your lips? These people looked like they were already beyond that. Hats pulled low, towels around their necks, moving like ghosts. I didn't call out, didn't wave. If they saw me, they didn't stop. I think everyone knows now. This isn't about rebuilding. This is about surviving long enough to see if something shifts. I got a shortwave call right before the signal fried. It came from Baton Rouge. A woman named Patrice. She used to run an air quality monitoring station for the city. She said their upper atmosphere sensors detected a total inversion layer collapse. She said it was like the heat sealed over the city, like a lid, kept all the emissions and particulates trapped. The oxygen levels in the lower layers started to dip. People didn't even notice at first. She said the birds fell first, then the old men, then the babies. She cried a little when she said that, but only for a second. Then she told me she was staying in the basement of a funeral home. Said the walls were thick. Said the walk-in coolers weren't running anymore, but the insulation helped. Said they had 2 days' worth of canned peaches and 1 jug of filtered water left. I told her to stay low. I told her I'd say her name. So if you're listening, Patrice is still out there, somewhere near the river, still breathing. If anyone near Baton Rouge hears this, try channel 77.5 shortwave, 10-watt burst, top of the hour. That's where she was. She might still answer. I want to talk about the hospitals now, because no one is. They went quiet first, not all at once, but fast. I got reports from 5 cities: Lexington, Dallas, Shreveport, Columbia, Birmingham. Every single one had the same story. Generators failed, backup tanks overheated. The air conditioning couldn't keep the ICU temperatures below 90. Some staff walked out. Others stayed until they dropped. There's no formal record of how many patients died inside, but I've heard from orderlies who saw body bags stacked in ambulance bays like firewood. One nurse, Aaron from Columbia, told me the cooling system at his hospital started blowing warm air. Patients started slipping into heat stroke even inside sealed rooms. IV fluids were boiling. Staff wrapped people in wet sheets, put ice packs under armpits, fanned them by hand. Didn't work. Aaron said they had to make a choice. Who to help, who to sedate, who to lie to, gently, while the temperature crept toward triple digits. He called me the day he quit. Said he walked home and found the power out. Fridge warm, all his insulin spoiled. He left the city that night. Aaron, if you're hearing this, I kept my promise. You're not forgotten. If you're near a hospital and it still has power, check it. See if there's a generator left running. There might be supplies. Not much, but something. Bandages, water filters, maybe an old med kit they missed. Don't go in alone. Don't stay long. These buildings are ovens now. Use gloves. Cover your mouth. Dead air hangs heavy in those places. You can taste it. I've got more names here. People I promised to mention. Raymond, outside Wichita, running a ham station off a modified lawnmower engine. Chloe in Montgomery, living inside a bus with blackout curtains and a solar shower made from a black bag on the roof. A man named Dwayne from Fort Smith said he hadn't seen another soul in 5 days, just kept talking to himself over CB, hoping for a voice. These people are real. They're holding on. If you're hearing this, know that survival isn't some miracle. It's choices. It's rationing your sweat, not just your water. It's keeping your boots cool before walking. It's burying your electronics underground, wrapped in foil and plastic to keep them from frying. It's waking up every morning and whispering, one more day. I want to talk about the sun, because it's not what it was. Not to us. I think it's killing us now, not slowly, not symbolically, but hour by hour, beaming down like a punishment we wrote ourselves into. A trucker who stopped near Springfield told me he saw a deer, skin sloughing off, eyes clouded, stumble into the road midday and collapse from the heat before he even got close. He said the deer was steaming. Animals don't know what we did to the sky, but they're paying for it. I keep thinking about all the things we were warned about. All the studies, the projections, the debates, and how we still paved everything, still cut every tree near the city centers, still measured growth by how fast we replaced soil with glass and steel and plastic and heat-retaining concrete. We took the shade away, we took the breeze away, and now the heat is taking us. I'll be here for another hour tonight, maybe less. Then I need to shut down. Let the wires rest. This rig is sweating more than I am. If you're still out there, if you're huddled in a garage, a storm drain, a hole in the dirt, keep your signal low and your hope high. Hope can't cool you down, but it keeps your feet moving. This is the only station I know still running in this sector. I don't have a name for it. Doesn't matter. It's just me. A voice in the dark, on a wave that hasn't collapsed yet. I'll check for shortwave calls in 15. If the dish holds, I'll try to ping station KOZL in Atlanta. Last heard, they had a wind-powered relay still working. If anyone has news from the coast, it's them. Keep your eyes open before dawn. The horizon might lie, but the shadows don't. More soon. It's 3:29 a.m. I haven't slept in 42 hours. Maybe more. I'm not really sure anymore. Time stretches strange when your world shrinks to a single room, and the sun is a thing you hide from like an animal. The walls here, this old substation, they're radiating heat now, even without the generator running. I killed the motor for a while to save fuel. It's just me and the battery bank right now, and I've cut the lights. only glow is from this receiver panel and the last 2 power indicators. Outside, the wind is picking up, but it's not cool. It's dry, metallic, like air that's been dragged through steel pipes. It doesn't bring relief, it brings more heat. It scrapes across the concrete and hums against the vents like something alive, like something angry. I tried Atlanta. No answer. KOZL might be gone. That wind rig they were using probably couldn't cool itself anymore. The bearings on those things seize when the lubricant cooks off. One of their operators, Jamil, talked to me 3 days ago. Said their tower was only 30 feet tall, but catching good air currents from the ravine. He sounded tired. Said he was burning ice blocks in front of a fan just to keep his transmitter from frying. Ice. Can you imagine? Using the last cold things on Earth to cool down machines instead of people? That's where we are. I want to address something I haven't talked about on air until now. It's been eating at me. There's talk, real, serious talk, about cities going into lockdown, not for riots, not for civil unrest, but to keep people from fleeing, to stop the heat refugees from reaching the coasts. I've had 4 separate shortwave contacts mention military roadblocks outside Denver, Seattle, and Raleigh. These aren't traffic stops. These are full shutdowns, concrete barriers, armed guards. No crossing without clearance. But no one's saying who gives the clearance. No one's answering the radios. Just dead air and checkpoints. One caller, Dina from Flagstaff, said she watched a whole convoy of families turned away from the Arizona border. She said they'd come from El Paso, some of them barefoot. They had kids, dogs. One guy had a wagon full of water bottles he'd collected from vending machines and old gas stations. They were told to turn around. Turn around to what? The asphalt in El Paso hit 141 degrees last week. You can't turn back to that. Dina said the soldiers didn't look right. Not angry. Not cruel. Just blank. Like they were following a protocol that they didn't write and didn't understand. She asked me if I thought the government knew something we didn't. I didn't have an answer then. I'm not sure I do now. But I'll tell you this. There are no official briefings anymore. The White House feed went dark 4 days ago. FEMA's last message was a PDF upload with no audio, no spokesperson. Just a black screen with white text. Red phase, urban shelter-in-place advisory remains in effect. Cooling access points may be unreachable. Prioritize below-grade spaces. Use non-powered methods. Stay hydrated. Conserve energy. Wait for update. There hasn't been one. Red phase. That's what they're calling this. Not a state of emergency. Not a crisis. A phase. Like it's just a cycle on a chart, a stage on a spreadsheet. But I walk outside and I smell skin. I smell plastic. And I see the roads buckling. I see dogs lying still on sidewalks, their paws blackened from trying to run on the tar. That's not a phase. That's an ending. I got a call from New Orleans right before the repeaters fell. A teacher named Charles said he'd turned his elementary school into a cooling shelter with help from some neighbors. They lined the windows with foil, duct-taped pool noodles around the door frames, put wet towels in every room, built makeshift swamp coolers using box fans and buckets of ice from a gas station that still had power. They were sheltering 19 people, mostly elderly, a few kids, one baby. He asked if I could help spread the word. He wanted anyone nearby to head for the Claiborne campus, Building 3, backlot entrance. Said they had room for a few more. Said they were rationing water, but spirits were high. Then his voice cracked. He said the baby's name was Lila. He said she hadn't cried in 10 hours. Not even once. Babies cry. They're supposed to cry. Silence is worse. I told him I'd say her name too. Lila, we're thinking of you tonight. The heat is doing something to our minds. I can feel it. Not just in my body, in my thoughts. There's a kind of slowness settling in, like I'm thinking through syrup. I forget what day it is. Sometimes I forget if I've eaten. I have to touch the wall to remember where I am. People say strange things when they call in now, half-formed thoughts, repeating themselves. One woman whispered the same word over and over for 30 seconds. Boiling, 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 until the line cut out. A man from Des Moines left a voicemail, said he could hear the trees breathing, said the leaves outside his window were clicking together like teeth, said he didn't know if it was real. I didn't delete the message. I just sat there, listening to the sound of him trying to remember what grass felt like. I think we're starting to forget. Not just people, but parts of the world. One caller said the corn no longer smells sweet, said it smells like vinegar and metal, said the rain, when it comes, burns the back of your throat. I had someone from Memphis tell me their shadow looked wrong, that it stretched too far and bent the wrong way around corners, that it flickered like a flame when they moved. I don't know what to make of that. I'm not saying the heat is changing physics, but it might be changing us. I've been drinking the same gallon of water for 2 days, rationing it drop by drop. The plastic tastes like bleach now. Every time I swallow, it feels like it's going somewhere my body doesn't remember how to use. But I'm still here, still on air, still sending this voice out into the static in case someone, anyone, is close enough to catch it. I'll keep going as long as I can, until the fuel goes, or the air, or me. This is not a drill. This is not temporary. This is not survivable without change. I'm going to take a break. 10 minutes. Let the battery cycle. Let my voice rest. Then I'll come back and tell you what's happening in California. I've got reports, and they're bad. If you're somewhere cool, if you've got shade, real shade, don't waste it. Don't assume it'll last. The heat doesn't take turns. It consumes. Talk to you in 10, if I'm still here. It's 3:52 a.m. I'm back. Barely. The battery's running hot. The air's getting harder to breathe. And I think my generator's fuel drum is expanding. The cap's swollen. I can hear it ticking like a clock that's run out of time. I promised I'd talk about California. So here's what I've got. The Central Valley is gone. I don't mean evacuated. I mean gone. I had a trucker, Ronnie, Sacramento native, get through on the emergency band last night before it died. Said he was hauling one of the last shipments of frozen produce up from the valley. When he passed Modesto, the fields were glowing, not with fire, though some were burning, but with heat. He said the rows of crops were steaming in the moonlight. You could see the moisture leaving the soil like breath from a dying mouth. He said he saw people trying to harvest by hand, wearing towels over their faces, dragging buckets, pulling plants straight from the ground because the tractors had seized from overheating. He said they didn't wave when he passed. They didn't even look. He drove past Bakersfield and said the overpass was cracked top to bottom. No one fixing it, no signs, just rubble and silence. And Fresno? He didn't stop. He said there were columns of smoke rising from what used to be cooling towers at a food plant. Said the plastic silos had melted. And here's the part that stuck with me. He said it smelled like cooked fruit and blood. I don't know what that means, and I don't want to know. Someone else, Elijah from Long Beach, told me the ports are shut down. Ships are sitting offshore, engines off, lights out, cargo still on board, no one unloading. Too hot for the cranes to operate, too dangerous for workers. They're baking inside their own containers. No AC on those boats anymore, no circulation, just steel boxes under a sun that doesn't forgive. The supply chain didn't break. It melted. I've had no signal from LA for 2 days. Not from downtown, not from the hills, not from the desert edge. All gone. Only thing I've gotten was a voice from a rooftop in Echo Park. A girl named Naomi. She said she was living off melted ice from an old hotel cooler. Said the buildings across the street shimmered like mirages in the afternoon. Said sometimes she could see outlines of people behind the glass, but they never came out. Said she stopped knocking on doors after the third one opened to nothing but heat. I asked if she was alone. She said, "Not always." I didn't ask what she meant. Sometimes it's better not to know. She sang to me, just for a minute, a little tune from when she was a kid. Something about lemonade stands and red bicycles. Her voice was soft, dry, like paper crinkling in the wind. And then she said, "Tell them I was here." So I am. Naomi, from Echo Park. If anyone hears this, if you find her, she's still up there, still watching the city burn from the top of a broken world. Up north, it's not much better. The forests are dying, not burning, though some are, but dying. Trees shedding bark, pines collapsing under their own weight. The soil's too hot. The roots cook from below now, whole hillsides turning gray. I got a report from an old park ranger in Oregon, Stan. He worked Mount Hood for 28 years, said he never thought he'd see the day when snow just stopped. Not melted, just never came. Last winter they had 3 days of frost. The rest? Just dry, dry wind. Ski lifts rusting in place. Stan told me he saw a bear stumble into the ranger station, foam around its mouth, eyes wide and wild. Not sick, just overheated. Said the animal laid down on the linoleum and didn't move again. He buried it out back. Said it felt wrong to leave it for the flies. He's got solar panels and a well, but he says it's only a matter of time. The creek's down to a trickle. The fish are floating sideways. His radio barely holds charge after sunset. He told me, "This isn't climate change. This is climate collapse." I didn't argue. He was right. Let's shift for a second. Talk about something practical. If you're still alive, still listening, here's what you need to know to survive a little longer. Don't go outside after 8 a.m. It doesn't matter how short the trip is. The sun is lethal by 9. You think you're fine, but it cooks you from the inside out. Your sweat stops working. You get dizzy. Then you don't wake up. Wrap your windows in foil or anything reflective. Blankets aren't enough. You need to stop the infrared. Use car window shades, mirrors, survival blankets, anything shiny. Face it out. Dig if you can. Basements, crawl spaces, storm drains. They're cooler than surface air. Bury a sleeping chamber if you have to. The deeper, the better. Some people are insulating old septic tanks and storage bins. Not pretty, but better than boiling alive. Power down anything not essential. Every electronic leaks heat. Your radio, your lights, even your charger. Use hand crank or solar if you can. Bury your batteries during the day to keep them cool. Store water underground or underwater if you can find it. Surface water is hitting 90 plus in some places. That's not safe. That's stew. Find neighbors. build shifts, sleep in turns. Someone has to stay awake. People get confused in this kind of heat. Wander, panic, hallucinate. You need someone to talk you down. Block off unused rooms. Seal doors with duct tape or wet cloth. Keep your cool zone tight. Don't waste shade. If you've got more tips, broadcast them. Even if it's shortwave, even if it's Morse. Some of us are still listening. I've got another name to read, one that's hard to say. Henry, 8 years old, from Lafayette. His sister got through 2 days ago. Said he loved baseball, peanut butter, and their dog, Max. Said he tried to sleep through the heat, even when the AC failed. Said he wouldn't wake up. Said she held his hand for 6 hours before she let go. I'm saying his name because he mattered. He mattered. We all do. Don't let this world make you think otherwise. I know it's hard. I know your skin hurts, and your throat sticks, and your hope feels like a glass of water someone knocked over. But I need you to hang on. I need you to hold tight, because there are still voices out here, still signals cutting through the static, still people trying to make it, trying to carry the story forward. I'll be back after I reset the relay. It's humming louder now. Might be dust in the filter or heat warp in the fan. If it holds, I'll take another round of shortwave signals. I'm scanning south. Someone from Mexico pinged me earlier. Said the desert is changing. Said something about the cities going quiet. I'll report what I find. Until then, breathe slow. Drink slow. Think slow. You're not alone. Not as long as this voice still reaches you. It's 4:17 a.m. If you're hearing this, the signal's still alive. Somehow. The relay took a hit earlier. Might have been heat stress, might have been a power surge, but I cooled the board with some bottled water and a silver heat sink I pulled from an old satellite modem. It's crude, but it's holding for now. The hum's still there, though, deeper now. The kind of sound you feel in your molars. I promised an update from the south, from across the border. This one's rough. I caught a shortwave ping out of Monterey. Clear Spanish at first, then static, then a man's voice, ragged, clipped, desperate. Said his name was Raphael, engineer, used to work at a thermoelectric plant south of the city. Said the plant was running at full capacity, beyond redline, feeding hospitals, shelters, communications towers. But then the coolant reservoir started boiling. Boiling. He said the backup generators vented steam so hot it melted the surrounding guardrails. The pressure valve exploded. They lost 2 technicians, and the control room, what was left, collapsed from structural heat fatigue. He said they tried to keep one line open, just one, emergency power to the city's main water purification center. But the wires themselves were too hot. The insulation peeled, the metal sagged, and the last junction box sparked and died. No electricity, no water, in Monterey. He said the grocery stores are empty. The canals are sludge. He said the trucks stopped running 2 days ago. And here's what stuck with me. He said the sun doesn't rise anymore. It arrives, like a threat, like a hammer, and when it hits the ground, the streets go silent. No birds, no bikes, no engines. Just the sound of glass cracking and air hissing from vents, like it's trying to escape the earth. He said his wife won't come out of the bathroom anymore. It's the only room left without a window. She lays on the tile, eyes open, doesn't speak. Raphael said he talks anyway. Tells her stories, tells her about cold places, ski trips, freezers, Movie theaters with the AC too high. He asked me, very softly, if the rest of the world had fallen too. I told him the truth. Yes, we're all falling. Some of us just haven't hit the bottom yet. I lost signal with Raphael 10 minutes later. But if you're out there, Hermano, this voice remembers you. And if anyone in the north can still hear him, scan 12.325 shortwave. Look for faint pulses. He might still be out there. Let's talk about the skies. Something's happening up there. I've had 2 people from separate locations, one in Idaho, one near Atlanta, tell me the same thing. The clouds are wrong. They're not forming like they used to. They gather, yeah, but they don't spread. They hover in tight, dense clusters, like bruises pressed against the sky. Sometimes they flash, not lightning, just sudden white bursts. No thunder, no rain. One woman said it looked like the atmosphere was trying to sweat, but couldn't. Another said the clouds pulsed, like lungs. I don't have any science to back that up. I'm not a meteorologist. But I know what fear sounds like when it comes through a radio. It's heavy. It drags behind the words like a shadow. I tried tuning into a NOAA satellite relay tonight. Static. I'm guessing the orbital relays are either overwhelmed or offline. Someone told me the upper layer satellites are drifting. That solar interference has knocked telemetry sensors offline. That radiation is spiking outside the magnetosphere. If that's true, we're in more trouble than just heat. Because if those systems fail, we lose tracking. We lose early warnings. We lose communications that don't require ground relays. We go dark, truly dark. I'm starting to get more calls from Canada. Not as many as before, but they're coming. And it's not good news. Calgary is on fire. Not wildfires, city fires. Electrical vaults exploding from heat stress. Transformers catching like dry wood. Grasslands flaring from under the soil. A man named Jules told me he watched the sidewalk split and a pipe underneath pour out flames. Not gas, just compressed heat igniting the air. He said the hospitals stopped taking patients. Said they're telling people to cool off in fountains. Except the fountains are boiling. He didn't laugh when he said that. Neither did I. I got a message from a geologist in Winnipeg. Older woman, calm voice. Said she's been monitoring permafrost melt since the 90s. Said this isn't just a record year. It's the year the record breaks. She said we've entered what she called a thermal cascade. That the melt is releasing methane faster than it can be measured. That every uptick in temperature accelerates the next. That we've passed the window of stabilization. That phrase, I wrote it down. Window of stabilization. Like there was a frame of time when things could have been contained. Slowed. Paused. And now we're on the other side of it. Where the only window left is the one you try to cover with duct tape and hope it doesn't shatter from the heat. She ended the call by saying, "There's no reversing this, only surviving it." Then she said she'd try to get one more reading. I haven't heard from her since. My generator just clicked twice. That's not good. The drum is close to empty. I've got maybe 4 hours of power left if I ration it right. After that, it's battery or silence. I've prepared a wind-up radio in case I have to broadcast manually. Short range. Won't reach far. But maybe someone nearby will catch it. If you're setting up your own station, remember, keep your transmitter insulated. Wrap it in cloth soaked in water during broadcast to prevent overheating. Ground your antenna away from metal roofs. Heat distortion can scramble signals. Use burst transmission if you're on solar. Short, focused blasts are better than continuous low-power hums. Record, then transmit. Don't waste your words if the signal's weak. I know most of you don't have fancy gear. That's okay. Talk anyway. Even if no one answers. Even if it's just static. Sometimes, static is all someone needs to know they're not alone. I've got one last update before I pause again. The Mississippi River is running warm. I mean hot. Not just in the south, Memphis, Baton Rouge, but all the way up past Missouri. I had a barge worker, Dave I think, say he took a water temp reading that made him drop the thermometer. Said it read 104 in the river. He said fish were gasping near the surface. Said the banks were littered with scales and bones. Said even the insects were dying. Dragonflies falling mid-flight. He asked me if I thought the river could boil. I didn't know what to say. Because maybe it can, and maybe it already is. I need to rest. 15 minutes. Then I'll be back with names. More names. Always names. If you're still listening, mark your time. Drink something. Wrap your wrists in something cool. Close your eyes for 60 seconds. Then keep going. We're not done yet. It's 4:42 a.m. I didn't sleep. Couldn't. The air's too thick in here now. Doesn't move unless I wave my hand in front of my face. Even then, it just shifts the warmth around like bath water that's gone stale. I used to think 80 degrees was a warm night. It's 107 in here right now. I peeled off the insulation from the wall vent, tried to funnel in some air from the east side, but all I got was more heat, the kind that stings when it hits your skin, like opening an oven and forgetting your face is too close. The generator's not humming anymore. It's whining. That sound it makes when it wants to stop but can't because something is still asking too much from it. I guess that's all of us now. Asking too much from something that already gave everything. Before I forget, before the signal degrades again, I want to read out a set of names. These are from a message that came in yesterday, scrawled by hand, scanned, and sent through an email relay node that was still operational out of Kansas City. A doctor sent it, Julia, ER shift lead from St. Luke's. She said these were the last admitted patients before the hospital lost backup power. Nico Alvarez, 33, dehydration, confusion, found wandering east of the train depot. Teresa Sims, 76, heat stroke, non-responsive, pulled from her garden by neighbors. She was still holding a hose. Imani Brooks, 5 burns to feet, no shoes, found near a collapsed tent community in Penn Valley Park. Marcus Wright, 40, third-degree burns across back and shoulders, roof repair worker, no protective gear. Joanne Quill, 19th volunteer, passed out during water delivery, still unconscious when the ER shut down. Julia said her staff did what they could. No morphine, no fans, no ice, just wet cloth, prayer, and a curtain of plastic to separate the living from the rest. She ended the message with 5 words. We buried them in the shade. I'm not crying. I don't have enough water left in me to cry. Let's talk about communications. The internet, as we knew it, is done. Most of the backbone nodes across the Midwest and Southwest are offline. Data centers overheated. Cooling systems failed. No redundancy left. Everything was built for efficiency, for uptime, for cost savings. None of it was built for this. Cloud services? Cooked. Social media? Silent. The only people still online are using dark fiber, VPN backdoors, or cold servers built under mountains. Even those are blinking out one by one. I watched a live map someone sent, showing active networks worldwide. Little green dots winking out like fireflies drowning in a glass jar. The only things left now are shortwave, satellite bursts, and local signal loops. The kind of tech we stopped caring about 15 years ago. The old gear is saving us. I keep hearing from people pulling radios out of basements, brushing off dust from steel cases, cranking dials like they're waking up ghosts. And maybe they are. Maybe we're all ghosts now, caught between the world we thought we had and the one we built by mistake. But if you've got a hand crank radio, or a car battery, or even a rig built from old copper wire and a busted phone, you can still speak. Speak. Even if it's just your name. Even if it's just still here. That matters. I heard from a man in Asheville, North Carolina. Said his name was Walter, former ham operator. Said he reconnected with 6 people across the Blue Ridge Mountains using a relay chain made from salvaged CB radios. They passed the signal along like a baton. One voice to the next, mountain to valley, echo to echo. He told me they meet at dusk. No lights, just voices. Quiet ones, sometimes singing, sometimes praying, sometimes just describing the color of the sky that night. He said last night it was the color of old copper. He said it made him miss his daughter. He didn't say where she was. I didn't ask. He's still out there, broadcasting on 3.022 megahertz, if your rig can swing that low. Pass it on if you can. Now I want to talk about the food situation. There's none, at least not the kind that feeds cities. The grocery stores were emptied by the second week of red flag alerts. The cold storage plants failed when the grid collapsed. And distribution lines can't run when diesel starts evaporating inside the fuel tanks before it even hits the ignition. What's left are canned goods, dry rice, lentils, salt, powdered milk, whatever didn't melt, rot, or burn. People are bartering now. 3 cans of beans for a working fan, half a jug of water for a single flashlight battery. An old woman in Omaha told me she traded her wedding ring for 2 bags of rice and a cracked solar panel. She didn't hesitate. She said the gold was never going to feed anyone. There are rumors of food convoys, black trucks moving at night, headlights off, guarded by men in masks. Some say it's government surplus. Others say it's private contractors. I don't know, but if you see a convoy like that, don't approach. They're not stopping for pleas. Not anymore. I heard one story, unconfirmed, from a man near Tulsa. He said a group tried to block a convoy with makeshift barricades. Said the trucks didn't even slow down. Said the pavement was stained for a mile after. This is the part where I'm supposed to say something hopeful. Some line about human resilience. About how we always rebuild. How we always find a way. But I'm tired of lying. We didn't prepare for this. We laughed it off. We turned the thermostat down and thought that was enough. We drank cold brew in air-conditioned cafes and joked about the heat dome. We let the world cook while we streamed sitcoms about people living in places that didn't exist anymore. Now the only sitcom left is us. Sweating under aluminum foil, eating expired beans, praying the sky doesn't shatter before dawn. Still, there are voices. Still, there are names. Still, there's you and me. And the sound of this signal crawling through the dark like a lost animal trying to get home. I'll stay on for another hour. Then I have to switch to low power. If you have someone's name you want me to say, now's the time to send it. Say it into the radio. Say it into the silence. Say it even if you're not sure anyone's listening. Because I promise you, Someone is. It's 5:08 a.m. The lights flickered about 5 minutes ago. Not power. There's no grid left to flicker. But the soft orange from the solar lantern I've been nursing since midnight started to pulse, like the battery couldn't make up its mind. That's usually the first sign a lithium cell is about to fail in the heat. Not a dramatic pop or hiss. Just a flicker, then a slow fade. I wrapped it in a damp cloth and tucked it under the desk next to the reserve batteries. I know it's a fool's hope. Heat wins. Every time. But even now, I find myself doing little things like that. Protective. Stupid. Human. I've started to hallucinate in small ways. Not the dramatic kind. No swirling walls or phantom people. But little slips. I'll think I hear a drip from the sink, even though I haven't had running water in 4 days. Or I'll catch the faint scent of my father's aftershave, which is impossible, because he's gone and so is the bottle I kept. Sometimes, I think I hear a knock at the back door. Always 3 taps. Always soft. And I know logically, it's just the heat warping the aluminum frame, or the air shifting through the vents. But that doesn't stop my heart from freezing for a second each time. I used to joke that fear was the one thing that ran cold in me. Now I know better. Now even fear feels like fire. I've received another report from what's left of the Gulf Coast. A man named Terrence got through on a makeshift loop. Said he's a former shipyard electrician holed up near Lake Charles. He's taken shelter in the bottom level of a half-sunk casino, believe it or not. Said the walls are thick enough to keep the midday heat out, and the slot machines make decent barriers when you pile them against the glass. He set up a rudimentary water still using parts from the kitchen. He boils lake water through copper tubing using a cracked induction plate and a solar battery he found in the manager's office. The water tastes like algae and metal, he says, but it's wet and it hasn't made him sick yet. That's become the new standard of luxury out here. Wet and not fatal. Terrence said something that stuck with me. He said, "It's like the earth got a fever it doesn't want to break." He's not wrong. This isn't just heat. It's persistent, aggressive, strategic almost. It's not just rising in temperature. It's reshaping the rules. Asphalt doesn't just soften anymore. It flows. Roof tiles don't just crack. They curl, peel, slide off in layers like burned skin. Metal fences are warping so badly that gates can't be opened. You either kick them down or crawl through. And the air, it doesn't just hang. It presses, sits on your chest like it's daring you to try for a full breath. Another voice came in this morning, early, barely a whisper. A teenager, I think, maybe 16. Her name was Aaliyah. She didn't say where she was, just that she was in a basement, and it used to be a studio, and she was alone. She said she'd found a small freezer with a bit of power left in it, just enough to keep 2 bottles of water cold. She drank one yesterday, and she said she didn't know if she should drink the other now, or wait until she couldn't see straight anymore. She asked if I thought the sun would ever cool down. I didn't know what to say. I wanted to tell her yes, to lie, to give her something small to hold, but my mouth just stayed open. I could hear her breathing, fast, uneven, like someone trying not to panic but already slipping over the edge. I told her to stay underground, told her to take shallow sips, told her not to talk unless she had to. Conserve moisture, I said. Whisper if you need to. I told her that even if she couldn't hear it, people were out there. Not many, but some. And we were listening. I told her I would say her name. So I am. Aaliyah, I hope you're still there. Hope is becoming harder to define now. It used to mean something solid, rebuilding, regrowing, resistance. Now it means something more hollow, but somehow more powerful. It means holding your breath and choosing not to let go. It means sitting in the dark with a cracked radio and speaking into it anyway. It means knowing the sky wants to kill you, but standing at the edge of the door at dawn just to see what color it's turned today. I don't believe in slogans anymore. I don't believe in rescue. But I believe in voices. As long as we have those, we have something. I want to say something difficult. I want to talk about death. Not the abstract, cinematic kind. Not the numbers or the graphs or the scrolling tickers from the news feeds that used to run across the bottom of our screens. I mean the kind of death that visits slow and intimate. The kind that comes not with fire or flood, but with silence. I spoke to a man last week. He didn't give his name. Said he was from rural Kansas, out where the old wind farms used to spin before the gearboxes melted. He said he buried his wife on Tuesday. Said he didn't dig deep. Couldn't. The ground was too hard. Said he covered her with stones and laid a tarp over the top to keep the heat off. Said she'd gone quiet in her sleep, and that when he woke up, she was cooler than the air. He said he didn't cry. Said there wasn't anything left in him to come out. He asked me if I would remember her name if he said it. I told him I would. Then the line went dead before he could. So now I remember them both. Him and her, and the silence between. If you've lost someone and you want their name said out loud, say it into the dark. Say it into the speaker. Say it to the floor. I'll never hear it maybe, but you will. And maybe that's enough. I need to tell you about the satellites. There's something happening up there. People who still have access to amateur telescope arrays, mostly hobbyists, the kind who used to track comets and ISS flyovers, are reporting strange orbital decay rates. They're seeing shifts in altitude, drift in patterns. Some say the geosynchronous satellites are moving out of phase. That thermal expansion in the upper atmosphere is altering the gravitational balance. One even said a few satellites have visibly glowed, infrared burns, visible through cloud haze. That could be equipment failure, or heat damage, or something else entirely. If those fall, if the comsats go down, we lose even the whisper of the outside world. We lose timing, GPS, monitoring, and worst of all, we lose the last mirrors we have left to look at ourselves from above. Maybe that's fitting. Maybe this isn't something we were supposed to watch happen in high definition. Maybe this is something we were supposed to feel, deep in our skin, in our lungs, in the sweat that won't evaporate anymore. There's talk, rumors mostly, of military coordination centers still operational, deep bunkers, hardened sites, NORAD maybe, or the Cheyenne complex. I don't know. But if they're in there, they're not talking to us. The last known emergency broadcast from any official source was a robotic loop out of Virginia. It said, "Shelter in place, conserve resources, await recovery operations." That was 6 days ago. Recovery. Recovery from what? You don't recover from the air boiling your lungs. You don't recover from sunlight so strong it shatters glass without touching it. You don't recover from your own blood thickening into syrup because the sweat stopped coming. You survive, or you don't. That's all that's left. I need to shut down for a little while. The inverter is overheating, and I need to rotate the batteries into the cooler. I'll be back on in under an hour if the temperature doesn't climb past the threshold. If you're out there, try to stay under something. Talk quietly, and if you have to, sing. Even if no one hears it, even if your voice cracks, even if you're too dry to get the tune right. Sing anyway, because silence is where the heat wants us, and we've got to make it work for our breath, not the other way around. I'll be back. Hold on. It's 6:11 a.m. The lantern's dead now. Finally gave up its ghost while I was rotating the battery unit under a soaked towel near the door. The glow faded slow, almost like it didn't want to go. I watched it shrink down to a pinprick, then vanish. Funny how something so small can feel like a whole world slipping away. I haven't had a working light in this place since then, other than the glow from the signal board and the thin gray line crawling along the edge of the eastern wall. That's dawn out there. That's the sun sneaking up again. It doesn't rise anymore. It just returns. A quiet tyrant. A slow flood. I've been thinking about what it means to adapt. That's the word they used to throw around on the news. Adaptation strategies. Heat resilience. Like it was just a matter of better city planning, or more white rooftops, or maybe more trees on sidewalks. As if you could plant your way out of a boiling sky. Now I'm seeing real adaptation, but it doesn't look like what they promised. It looks like people wrapping themselves in soaked newspaper and hiding under overturned bathtubs. It looks like homemade sweatsuits made from plastic wrap and old t-shirts. It looks like families digging pits in their yards and sleeping under wet blankets inside them like graves they're not ready to use yet. There's a man somewhere near Wichita, calls himself Sal. I don't think that's his real name, but he's been talking to me off and on for a few days now. Said he used to work as a welder. Said he understands heat and metal better than most. When the grid failed, he repurposed the insulation from an old walk-in freezer at a closed-down meatpacking plant, tore it down piece by piece, loaded it onto a flatbed using a winch and a bicycle gear he welded together from scrap, hauled it behind his truck with the engine turned off, just rolling on incline, coasting it down the empty roads at night. He built a bunker, buried it under the concrete slab behind a burned-out Family Dollar. Said he lined the inside with foil and clay and scrap metal from vending machines. It's small, maybe 6 feet by 4, but he said it stays 85 in there on the hottest days. That's 20 degrees cooler than the air outside. That's the difference between breathing and not. He said he's letting people in now. Strangers. 3 of them last night. Said one was a kid with blood in his nose and peeling lips. Another was a woman in a hospital gown. The last was a man with blisters on his back the size of soup cans. Sal said he doesn't ask names, just opens the door when they knock the right rhythm. Said he made up a code. 2 knocks, then pause, then 1 more. It's nothing fancy, but it's something. That's what matters now. Something. Not safe, not right, not good, just something. I asked him what kept him going. He said, I don't think I'm going. I think I'm just staying still faster than the world is falling apart. He paused, then added, and somebody's got to hold the door open. I'm trying too. You are, probably. In your own way. I got a signal from a woman outside Albuquerque. Hannah. Said she used to be a botanist. Now she's trying to grow food in the dark. Said she's using old seed packets, filtered rainwater, what little she can get, and heat-reflective tarp to create what she calls night gardens. Plants that don't need much sun. Or any. Mostly mushrooms, beans, herbs, and a weird-looking spinach she found in a survival book from the 1960s. She said it's not thriving, but it's hanging on. Said the beans flowered. Said it felt like proof. I asked her if it tasted like hope. She laughed. Said it tasted like rubber, but she'd eat it again. Said it's not about taste anymore. It's about texture. Something to chew. Something that isn't canned or powdered. Something that grew under her hands. She said she caught herself humming while she watered them last night. Humming. Not a song she knew, just a sound. And that she didn't stop, even when her throat started to tighten. I think about that sometimes. What sounds we make when words won't hold anymore. What we say when there's no one left to answer. I want to say something about sleep, or the lack of it. I haven't really slept in what feels like 2, maybe 3 days. I've drifted, sure, minutes at a time, slumped in this chair or curled up on the floor near the backup fan, but I haven't gone under. Not fully, not deeply. My dreams burn when I close my eyes. Not fire, just heat, endless. No shape, just pressure, like being buried alive in warm ash. I wake up gasping, always gasping. One caller, he didn't leave a name, said he hasn't slept at all in over 4 days. Said every time he gets close, he starts to shake. Said the heat triggers something deep in his chest, like his heart's arguing with itself about whether to keep going. He said he drinks warm water and chews ice from the freezer of a gas station that still has power, but only in 15-minute cycles. He said he sits there all night, hiding behind the drink display, waiting for the hum of the compressor to start again. That hum is the only thing that lets him rest his eyes. Said he's never felt more grateful for the sound of a broken old machine trying its best. It made me realize we used to sleep through the hum of the world. Refrigerators, air conditioners, traffic, planes, lights, all that background noise that we thought was silence. Now, real silence feels like doom. I think about the cities a lot, the big ones, the ones that went quiet first. Phoenix, Vegas, Houston, Atlanta, LA. Somebody wrote to me before the network went down and said the skyscrapers are starting to sweat. That's the word they used. Said the steel is warping. The glass panes are cracking from internal pressure, and moisture from old HVAC lines is weeping through seams. Looks like the buildings are crying. I believe it. We built those towers like they'd outlive us. Now they look like tombstones. Not of people, of ideas, progress, ambition, all that vertical optimism, melted from the top down. I'm starting to think this isn't a temporary event. I mean, I've known that for a while, but I'm starting to feel it in my bones. This isn't a heat wave. This isn't a summer. This isn't a disaster we rebuild from. This is the beginning of the long thinning, the slow undoing, not of life, but of comfort, of ease, of expectation, and I don't know who will be on the other side of it, if there is another side. But I think we'll be fewer, quieter, and maybe, if we're lucky, kinder. I'm going to rest my voice for a bit. Let the board cool. I'll be back in 30. Maybe less. If the generator holds, if the world doesn't tip again, if my hand stops shaking long enough to flip the switch. Until then, keep your signal low, your heartbeat steady, your water covered. And if you have to lie to yourself to stay alive, go ahead. We've all earned that right. It's 6:51 a.m. Sun's up. I can feel it without looking. You'd think it would come slow with softness. That golden stretch across the sky, the kind we used to watch rise behind city skylines or treetops or highway signs. That glow that meant warmth without pain. But now the sun doesn't rise. It hits. It punches. It pours down like a punishment you can't crawl away from. The sky outside has turned a strange color. Not blue, not yellow, more like the inside of a dead light bulb. Bleached, dry, empty. The thermometer taped to the east-facing window is already reading 114. That's not a typo. 114 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's not even 7 in the morning. I don't have a high enough marker to tell you what it'll be by noon. That's the problem now. We ran out of ways to measure what we're living through. The scales weren't built for this. The language wasn't either. The metal roof creaks every few minutes, not from movement, but from tension, expansion. Heat swelling bolts and seams until something gives. It's like listening to the bones of the world shift in real time. I've reinforced the corners with wet cloth and welded braces, but nothing lasts more than a day or two now. You keep patching the leak, knowing the whole ship is already underwater. I caught part of a broadcast out of what's left of the Chicago Metro. Station 97.1. They're barely on air. A woman, maybe in her 40s, voice cracking like she'd swallowed dust. She said the lakefront's gone brown. The wind stopped blowing 3 days ago. They call it the heat dome. But what she described didn't sound like any dome. She said it felt like being buried alive in a pressure cooker. No air, no movement, just the weight of something pressing down. Said the parks are filled with tents, not protesters, not campers, survivors, people trying to live under trees that don't have leaves anymore. She said she walked through Grant Park yesterday and didn't see a single squirrel, not one. Said the pigeons are gone, the rats are even gone, nothing but quiet. And the smell, like melted rubber and meat. She said the city's making announcements through drones now. Not human voices, just pre-recorded loops. Please remain indoors. Drink fluids. Help is on the way. She laughed when she said that part. Not out of humor, out of disbelief. She said, "We are the help, and we're not coming." Then the transmission cut. Her name might have been Marta or Mara. I couldn't catch it clearly. But if you're out there, if you can still hear this, I heard you, and you're not wrong. We are the help now. If anything's going to be salvaged from this, it's going to be because of the voices we leave behind, the ones we aim like arrows into the dark, hoping they stick somewhere, anywhere. I've got another update from the outskirts of Miami. A man named Luis sent me a short audio burst last night. Said he was staying in a former office building in Hialeah, ground floor sealed, windows layered with cardboard and trash bags. He called it his quiet cell. Said he rotates rooms based on where the light falls, like a human sundial. He's cataloging the movement of the sun, tracking its intensity like a scientist with no lab. He said something odd. He said the light is changing color, that it's gone past white, that it's starting to look blue around the edges. I asked if he meant UV radiation. He said no. He said it feels like the sun isn't just burning hotter, it's changing. I don't know what to do with that. Maybe it's exhaustion. Maybe it's a trick of the eye. Or maybe he's seeing something we haven't caught up to yet. He also said the Atlantic smells different now. Said the breeze, when it comes, smells like plastic and salt and something else. Something that stings. I told him to stay inside. Told him to keep the filters on his vents wet. Told him to rest between sunrise and 10 if he can, because after that, the city turns into an open-air crematorium. Luis signed off by saying, "If the water boils, don't come looking for me." And I knew what he meant. I've had reports of riverbeds steaming, lakes bubbling at the edges, taps delivering hot water at full cold. We're not just losing our air. We're losing the part of the world that used to soothe us. No more cold streams. No more rain showers. No more sweat that cools. Only burn. Only haze. Only waiting. I want to talk about memory. Because it's starting to shift. People who've called in lately are having trouble with dates. They'll say yesterday and mean 3 days ago. They'll forget the names of streets they've lived on for years. A woman from Boise said she couldn't remember her own mother's voice. She used to hear it clearly, used to hum the lullabies she sang, but now it's just noise, like static in a tunnel. I think the heat is cooking our minds, not metaphorically, not like a bad night's sleep or stress. Literally, neurons don't like high temperatures. Memory pathways degrade. Focus blurs. People start walking in circles thinking they're on their way home. They lie down in the shade and don't get up. That's the part nobody talked about. The heat doesn't have to kill you with fire. It can erase you. Slowly. Gently. With forgetfulness. I'm writing everything down now. Even the things I don't want to remember. Even the things that hurt to see again. Because I don't know if I'll remember them tomorrow. I don't know if I'll remember my own name next week. That's why I never say it on air. Because what if I get it wrong? Better to just be a voice. A voice that tells the truth, even if it forgets who it belongs to. I've got a few more names tonight, or this morning. I can't tell what to call it anymore. The clocks are all off. The sun doesn't care. Benji, age 4. Little Rock. Loved dinosaurs. Said the word pterodactyl better than most adults. Sandra. 62nd Biloxi. Used to be a bus driver. Hid 50 bottles of water in the back of her van. Gave out every one. Naveen, 31. San Jose. Amateur radio technician. Built a rooftop signal repeater that reached as far as Colorado before the capacitors failed. I say their names because the news won't. Because the authorities won't. Because nobody's writing the book on this. So I'll be the page. I'm going to close down the broadcast for 30 minutes to cycle the generator and cool the board. If you've got batteries, charge them. If you've got shade, rest in it. If you've got someone, hold them. The heat hasn't taken everything. Not yet. More soon. It's 7:33 a.m. 30 minutes passed, but it feels like days since I shut the mic off. The air in here is thicker than before, almost grainy, like you could chew it. I poured half a bottle of warm water into the fan's base and pointed it straight at the inverter. It made a sound I've never heard from a machine before, a sort of low groan, like metal trying to exhale. Everything's running hotter than it should, including me. The skin on my arms is starting to blister, not from sun exposure, haven't seen the direct sun in 3 days, but from the air alone. Radiant heat. You sit in a room that holds onto yesterday's sun, and eventually it crawls into you. I've wrapped a wet shirt around my shoulders. There's mildew on it. Doesn't matter. Everything's moldy or scorched, or both. There is no middle ground anymore. I caught a partial transmission from a man in Montana, one of the last places you'd expect to suffer like this. He said he's living in a dry storage cellar built by his grandfather back in the 60s. Cement walls, no windows, 3 feet underground. Used to keep root vegetables and apples in there. Now it's a shelter. He said the mountains haven't burned. Not yet. But the snow's gone. All of it. Melted clean off the peaks 2 weeks ago. Said the runoff flooded lowland towns for a few days. before it all steamed away into nothing. His name is Dale. He said the wildlife's gone weird. Deer gathering in strange places, under bridges, in carports, even crowding into gas station overhangs like they're waiting for something. Coyotes walking through neighborhoods without a sound, lips cracked, tongues dragging, not hunting, just moving, like sleepwalkers. Dale said he hasn't fired his rifle in 10 days, not even to scare them. Said they're not dangerous anymore, just dying. I think the animals are trying to survive the same way we are, by mimicking whatever pattern seems safest. Moving when it's cool, hiding when it's not. Following shadows, hoping they stretch a little longer today than they did yesterday. Instinct doesn't work anymore. There's nothing natural left to guide them. He said one more thing. He said the stars aren't right. Now, I've heard that before, from other callers, from watchers, from people stuck on rooftops with nothing else to look at. They say the sky is changing, not just the color, the map, that the constellations seem closer, brighter, tilted. Dale said Orion's belt looked like it was drifting, that the North Star moved. I don't know if it's true. Could be atmospheric distortion, could be heat shimmer, could be madness. But more than one person has noticed it. More than one. Something is happening above us. And I don't think it's just solar. I think we're seeing the planet react in ways we can't understand. We boiled the surface. Now maybe the sky is boiling back. If anyone listening has a telescope, a satellite dish, or even a clear view of the night sky, try to record what you see. Send coordinates. Mark anything that changes. We need data, even if it's just scraps. That's all we have left. Scraps of the world, scattered like dry leaves in a furnace. I want to read a message that came to me from a paper letter. That's right, a letter, handwritten, carried by someone, hand to hand, across 4 towns, delivered by a man named Joris, who knocked once, left it under the solar panel outside, and vanished before I could thank him. The letter was from someone named Marnie. I don't know where she is now, but the postmark was from near Springfield. It read, I used to be a librarian. I used to be surrounded by stories. Now the only ones left are the ones I carry in my head. I sit in the dark sometimes and try to remember the way children used to laugh during story hour, the way they'd lean forward when the monster was about to jump out, the way they'd clap when the hero won. I don't know if we're in the middle of the story or the end. I don't know if there's a monster or just the heat. But I do know this. If anyone survives, it will be because someone wrote it down. So I'm writing. Even if the pages burn, maybe someone will remember they existed. I haven't stopped thinking about that since I read it. Writing it down. That's what this is. That's what I'm doing. Saying it out loud. So even if this station melts, even if the transmission dies, maybe the waves will carry something. A pulse, a pattern, a memory. We can't just disappear quietly. Not all of us. Not yet. I've gotten a short burst from someone claiming to be inside a government shelter. No name, no location. Just a few seconds of signal, then a voice. Calm. Measured. They said, Level 3, lockdown. 10 survivors per wing. UV filters offline. Batteries degrading. Water rationing enforced. No surface excursions after 5 a.m. Radiant exposure irreversible. Then silence. No identification. No call sign. I've tried to trace the band, 6.121 megahertz, but it's unstable. Weak. Could be bouncing off high-altitude ionization. Could be fake. Could be real. But if that's what's left of the official response, then we're on our own, and maybe we have been for a while. Don't wait for help. Make your own. A caller from Colorado, Julia from Pueblo, said she and her 2 brothers built what she called a cool hive. They buried old refrigerators horizontally in their backyard, lined them with foam, and connected them with plastic drainage pipe. Each one fits a person lying flat. They spend the day inside, come out only at night. She said it's quiet in there, dark, peaceful even, like being inside a memory. She said her little brother sleeps better there than he ever did in his bedroom. She said it smells like rust and earth, and sometimes that makes her cry. I asked if she wanted me to say their names. She said no, not yet. She said they're not ready to be remembered. They're still fighting, still moving, still making cold out of nothing. I respect that. If you're hearing this, if you're huddled under a tarp or sealed in a hallway closet with a box fan and a water bottle, know this. You are not crazy. This is real. This is happening. The world changed, and you're still here. That matters. You matter. I'm going to switch to low power mode for a bit. The sun is climbing too fast. The wall thermometer is almost maxed. I need to soak the vents again and bury the reserve cell in sand. It's the only way to keep the capacitors from warping. If this transmission cuts out, I'll try again in an hour. If it holds, listen for signal squelch at the top of the next hour. I'll be there. I always am, until I'm not. But I'm still here, and so are you. It's 8:25 a.m. I'm back. Barely. The fan's motor seized while I was off. I had to crack open the base and pour the last of my clean water into the coils just to keep the thing from melting through the casing. It's running now, barely making a sound, but I don't trust it to last another hour. The air smells like burning plastic and bleach, the kind of heat that makes your nose sting and your thoughts fray. I'm running out of duct tape, out of towels, out of time. Everything in this room is either wet or warping. There's a crack in the floor under the board, small, maybe 2 inches long, but I can see light bleeding through it now. The sun's not even touching that part of the building, but the concrete's starting to separate, like even the foundation wants to escape. I put my hand near the crack earlier, just to check. There's heat coming through it, real heat, like a furnace buried under the floor. We're cooking from underneath. I got a brief call in from someone outside Tulsa. Name was Casey. They're living out of a laundromat that still has a working well pump. Said the machines don't work anymore, but the basins do. They've filled them with river stones and charcoal and poured in layers of old shirts and rags. Slow filters. Ugly, but they keep the water clear enough. Casey said the trick is knowing which shirts to use. Polyester melts. Cotton holds. Said there are 5 of them. 2 adults. 3 kids. One of the kids won't talk anymore. She just sits by the door and watches the light change through the glass. Casey asked if that's normal. I told them it was. Silence is normal now. It's what kids do when the world gets too loud. They said they've been teaching the kids to build things, not out of wood. That's too brittle now. But metal scraps, engine parts, plastic tubing. Said one of the boys built a hand-cranked cooling fan out of an old car battery and a bicycle frame. I asked if it worked. Casey said, not really, but he thinks it does. Sometimes that's enough. Sometimes it's more important to build the idea of relief than the relief itself, because hope doesn't always come in working parts. Sometimes it comes in the shape of belief. I had a listener message me through shortwave from northern Nevada. She's a nurse. Was anyway. Said she's been operating a makeshift clinic out of a church basement, 10 patients at a time, all burns, all dehydration, all early signs of organ failure from prolonged exposure. She said there's a new kind of injury now, one she didn't learn in school. Not heat stroke, not sunburn, something deeper. She called it core damage. Said it's when the body starts cooking from the inside out, not from the surface heat, but from the constant, relentless internal temperature. Said one man walked in speaking clearly and collapsed 5 minutes later. His organs had already started to shut down. Nothing she could do. She's tracking symptoms, recording every case in a little book, paper and pen. She said it's all she has. I told her I'd read from it if she wants, that her notes might save someone, that people need to know what this is doing to us, not just the heat outside, but the heat within. I'll read some tomorrow if the signal holds, if she's still alive. If I am, I got another strange report, not one I can confirm. Comes from a former climate researcher named Ron, down in what's left of Baton Rouge. He said he was part of a study on atmospheric collapse, not a public one, something private, military adjacent. He wouldn't say which branch. Said the data's sealed now, but he remembers enough. He said what we're living through isn't just a greenhouse effect gone wrong. He said it's what happens when the balance tips too far, too fast. When the heat doesn't just rise, it amplifies itself. A positive feedback loop, he called it. Albedo loss, methane release, soil carbon escape, ocean vaporization. Words I had to write down because they don't make sense when you say them out loud anymore. They sound made up. But Ron said this: we thought it would take 100 years. It took 6. I asked what we're supposed to do now. He paused, then he said, record it. He said if anyone survives, even underground, even on the poles, they'll need to know what happened. Not just to warn them, but to prove we existed. He said stories are all that will be left. Not data, not maps, stories. So here's mine. I haven't slept more than an hour in 3 days. I've been drinking water that smells like copper and tastes like old coins. I found a blister on the back of my hand that wasn't there this morning, and it's already peeling. My fingernails are turning yellow. I haven't seen another human face in 9 days. I can't remember the last time I heard a bird. But I'm still talking, still recording, still listening for voices in the static, still saying names, still alive. There's a boy out in Mesa, Jonas. He's 9. He used to call in every morning, always had a joke. Even in this, he'd say things like, why did the thermometer go to school? Because it wanted to be smarter than the weather. Corny. Sweet. The kind of thing that stings now. He hasn't called in 3 days. Jonas, if you're out there, I miss your voice. And if you can't speak anymore, I hope someone's saying your name anyway. I'll say it, just in case. Jonas, Mesa, age 9, loved bad jokes and orange popsicles. There are so many names I haven't said yet. So many voices that flickered out before I could answer. If you're listening and you've got a notebook, start writing them down. Every person you knew, every place you lived, every sound that mattered. Because this world isn't going to last. But the memory of it might. I'm powering down again soon, only for a short time. The panel's overheating, and the board's whining in a way that tells me something inside's starting to go. I'll be back as soon as I can. Until then, if you have a shadow, stay inside it. If you have a name, say it out loud. If you have a voice, speak. Even if no one answers. Even if all you hear is the echo of your own breath. Speak anyway. We're still here. Still burning. Still human. More soon. It's 9:09 a.m. The board cut out twice before I could get this back on. I thought it was dead. Just a flicker, then black. I sat there staring at the panel, not breathing, not moving, just watching. Like if I looked hard enough, I could will the light back. Then it clicked. A slow blink. A groan. And the red line came back alive. That means you might still be hearing this. You might still be out there. I rewired the inverter with copper strips pulled from an old space heater. That's the kind of engineering we're doing now. Gutting machines that used to make us comfortable to try and keep ourselves barely functioning. I laughed when I realized it. The heater's death helped power the last voice in the air. That's irony now. It's also survival. I keep thinking the world's going to stop making sense. But then I hear someone else call in, and it pulls me back. A woman from Reno. Ellen. She said the highways out there are glowing at night. Not from power, from heat. Said you can walk out at midnight and the asphalt's still soft, still shimmering. She said it feels like walking on the surface of a cooked drum. Her words, not mine. Said she used to drive that highway every morning at 6 a.m. on the way to her job at a diner. Now she walks it barefoot, looking for things that didn't burn. She found a Polaroid camera in the back of a pickup. Took a picture of the sunrise 2 days ago. She said, "It didn't look real. It looked like the end of a movie, but no one was clapping." I asked her why she still takes pictures. She said, "Because if I forget what light used to look like, I'll go crazy." Ellen, if you're listening, I hope you keep snapping. I hope you bury those photos somewhere deep, someplace cool, in case someone finds them. Proof. We need proof. Not just of what we lost, but of how we lived. I got a letter. Yes, another one, by hand, passed through God knows how many people, from a teenager named Isaiah, just outside Lexington. 14, still writing, still breathing. Said he and his cousins are living in an old school basement. Said the walls are lined with chalk drawings now, maps, faces, plants they used to eat. It's their way of remembering. He said something in his letter that I underlined. We don't have teachers anymore, so we're teaching each other. We read by flashlight. We take turns telling stories about before. If we forget, we lose everything. Isaiah, you're smarter than I was at your age. You're doing what needs to be done. Keep teaching. Keep remembering. That basement full of chalk drawings, that's a university now. That's the start of something. A rebuild, even if it's just made of dust and words. The heat's doing strange things to memory. That's been true for a while. But now, I think it's going deeper. People are forgetting how to speak. I know that sounds dramatic, but I've gotten 3 separate messages from different corners of the country, all saying the same thing, that people are getting quiet, not just kids, adults too. That even when they try to talk, the words don't come. Their mouths open, their hands gesture. But it's like the brain forgot how to string sounds together. One doctor, retired, somewhere in Montana, said he thinks it's aphasia triggered by prolonged neural fatigue. That's the science of it. But to me, it sounds like the world's voice is just giving out. We spent so long shouting into phones, into comment threads, into microphones like this one. And now, there's nothing left to say, or no one left to say it. I don't know if I'm next. Sometimes when I wake up, the words don't line up right. I'll think door and say floor. I'll mean signal and say sky. It passes, so far, but I feel the edge of it, like a fog rolling in behind my eyes. If I ever start to make less sense, know this. I tried. I really did. I tried to say it while I still could. And if one day this voice just goes silent, if the signal cuts and doesn't come back, it wasn't for nothing. You were here. We were here. Let me read a few names. Ashwin, 46th San Antonio. Died trying to fix the coolant line on a broken generator. Rosa, 8th Bakersfield. Loved mango candy. Saved her last piece for her little brother. Lena, 33rd Syracuse. Midwife. Helped deliver 2 babies in a blackout clinic. Said they both cried. Said it gave her hope. Omar, 61st Detroit. Ham radio operator. Sent signals until his fingers blistered. Taught 3 neighbors how to wire batteries from abandoned scooters. We remember you. You mattered. Even if no one else says your name again, I will. I will. There's a man on the move. Multiple reports. He's walking east. Started somewhere near the Utah border. Seen carrying a metal pole with a flag made from an old t-shirt. People say he doesn't talk much. Just stops in towns, trades for water, shares weather updates he's mapped by hand. Said to carry a notebook covered in aluminum foil. Keeps it dry, guarded like gold. They're calling him the cartographer. No one knows his real name. But I want to believe he's real. I want to believe someone's still walking across this ruined country, sketching the fall, making sense of what we've lost, drawing the shape of what remains. If you see him, feed him. Listen. Write down what he says. Don't ask for anything in return. He's doing holy work. The static's getting worse. The signal's warping. I can hear voices bleeding in from another station. Maybe down south. Maybe something left of the military network. They're not broadcasting to us. It's encrypted, clipped, coded. But every so often, I catch a phrase. Sustained exposure breach. Lethal vector spread radius. Atmospheric interference expanding laterally. And once, I swear I heard this. It's not just the heat anymore. That was all. No explanation. Just that. So now I'm thinking about what we don't know. What we've lost the ability to track. What's changing in the air, in the soil, in the water. The world doesn't tell us everything. It never did. But now, it's hiding something. Or maybe we've just stopped being able to hear it. I'll be off again soon. Signals flickering, boards hissing. I need to cool it or lose it. But if you're hearing this, stay in the shade. Speak if you still can. Write if you can't. We're not done yet. More soon. It's 10:04 a.m. The heat is louder now. That probably sounds insane. But I swear to you, it's not just a feeling anymore. It hums. It buzzes. There's this low, vibrating pressure that fills every gap in the room, like the air itself is trying to push you back. You can't hear it unless everything else is off. No fans, no water drips, no noise, just stillness. That's when you feel it, inside your ears, behind your eyes, in your teeth. Like the world has a heartbeat, and it's racing. I haven't opened the door since before sunrise. I'm scared too. Not just because of the air or the light, but because of what I might see. Last time I cracked it, the sky looked wrong. Not just bright, but bent. The horizon used to be a line. Now it looks like it's folding in on itself. You can't look straight at it for long. Your eyes water. Your head starts to throb. I know what you're thinking. Hallucination. Dehydration. Maybe. Probably. But what if it's not? What if something's happening to the atmosphere that our eyes were never meant to witness? What if the heat has changed more than just the ground? Someone from Kansas City, Elijah, said the clouds there have stopped moving. Said they're frozen in place, like oil on a glass pane. No wind, no drift, just gray shapes stuck above him for 2 straight days. Said they glow at night, faintly. Not moonlight. Something else. He tried taking a picture. His phone shut off. Tried again. It cracked. He said it's like the sky knows you're watching. I'm starting to believe it. Let me tell you what happened here last night. Just after 3 a.m., the wind picked up. Not a lot, just enough to stir the dead leaves out back. I stepped outside for the first time in hours, hoping for cool air. It wasn't cool. It was dry, bitter, the kind of wind that feels like it's been underground for years. It carried dust, ash, maybe spores. I don't know. I could barely see. I turned back to the station, but for a second, I saw something move across the road. Not a person. Not an animal. Too tall. Too still. It didn't walk. It just leaned toward me. Then it was gone. I didn't dream this. I hadn't slept. Whatever it was, it didn't follow. But it reminded me that we're not the only ones left. Or maybe we are, and the heat's begun making shapes out of our guilt. Whatever the answer is, I'm locking the door at night now, even if the air gets too thick to breathe. I've got a new name to read. One that hurts. Jonas, Mesa, age 9. I said his name yesterday, hoping someone would hear it. This morning, I got a message. Shortwave, garbled, but unmistakable. A woman's voice. She said, "He's gone. He slept with his radio on. Thank you for saying his name." He smiled when he heard it. That's all she said. I don't know her name. I don't know if she's still alive either. But I want her to know, if you're still listening, I heard you, and I'll remember him. Every time this mic comes back on, I'll remember Jonas. Because that's how we survive this, by making sure the names don't vanish, even if the people do. By stitching together what's left of the human voice before it frays completely. A man in Duluth says the lakes are hissing. That's the word he used. Hissing, not steaming, not bubbling. Hissing, like a warning, like something angry under the surface. He said he walked past Superior yesterday and saw birds diving into the water, then not coming back up. Not floating either. Just gone. Like the lake swallowed them. He said he saw a deer walk straight into the waves and vanish. I asked if he was sure. He said, "I watched it for 10 minutes. It didn't even flinch." I don't know what that means. Maybe nothing. Maybe the animals are done trying to adapt. Maybe they're choosing to go. I'm not sure we have that option. I've been rationing food, 2 protein bars a day, water every 3 hours. I haven't eaten a hot meal in 11 days. It doesn't matter. Hunger disappears in this heat. You don't crave, you survive. You sip and sit and try not to move. It's like being half buried. Like the world is trying to slow you down into stillness, inch by inch. There's talk of a broadcast from a bunker beneath Minneapolis. Real one. Government grade. Said to be staffed by 4 technicians and 1 climate scientist. Their frequency jumps every 2 hours, but I'm chasing it. Heard part of a message late last night on 13.420 megahertz. A woman's voice, cold, focused. She said, projected maximum temperature for surface exposure exceeds 148 degrees Fahrenheit by week's end. UV index off scale. Atmospheric oxygen saturation dropping. Photochemical reaction spreading across agricultural zones. That's all I got before it dropped. If true, that's the end of crops. The end of open-air survival. The beginning of something else. Something no one planned for. Maybe we'll have to go underground. Maybe we already should have. There's a mine shaft in West Virginia that someone named Luca is broadcasting from. Says they've got 6 people down there, 2 of them kids. Plenty of water from the rocks. Air is stale, but cooler. No sun. Just flickering bulbs and the sound of dripping stone. He said, it's like living in a lung that never fully breathes. But they're surviving. He sends me notes in bursts. Said they've started telling stories before sleep. Ghost stories. End-of-the-world legends. He asked if that's wrong. If telling scary stories in the dark, while the real world dies above you, is cruel. I told him no. It's human. It's the most human thing we can do. Use fear to make meaning. Use darkness to give shape to what we can't explain. Luca, if you're listening, you're doing it right. Keep telling the stories. One more thing before I sign off for a bit. I opened the old mailbag I kept in the studio closet. Letters from years ago. Listener questions, birthday requests, school contests, song dedications. Most of them don't matter now. But one caught my eye. It was from a boy named Miles, age 11, from Omaha. He asked, "What do you think the world will be like in the future?" I never answered it. Until now. Miles, wherever you are, if you're alive, if you still have ears to hear this, the world is burning. But people are still sharing water. The air is poison. But kids are drawing on basement walls. The light is wrong. But someone out there is still mapping the sky. So maybe the world isn't what we hoped. But you, us, we're still trying. That has to count for something. I'll be back after the next solar flare cycle passes. If this board holds, if I don't pass out, if the heat doesn't find a way in. But until then, write, speak, sing, if your voice can stand it. We're not dust yet. Not yet. It's 10:57 a.m. The board's running hot again. I've got it propped open with a screwdriver and wrapped in a rag soaked from the last of the melted ice blocks. I'm sitting in a shirt that hasn't been dry in 2 days. I keep it wet. Helps. A little. The air in here feels like it's been used already. No freshness. No lift. Just weight. Like every breath is borrowed. Outside, it's too bright to look at the horizon directly. The sun isn't white anymore. It's silver. A sharp, pulsing silver. I don't know what that means. I've tried checking the solar readouts, but they're jittery. Power fluctuates like it's thinking too hard. Machines don't usually think, but this one stutters like it's afraid of what's coming next. I got a shortwave transmission from someone in Amarillo. They didn't give a name, just a voice, hoarse and trembling. They said they're seeing mirages in the daylight, not the kind you used to read about. Water in the distance, pavement shimmering. No, these are different. They're full shapes, people, streets, a shadow of a city that doesn't exist anymore. He said he walked toward one yesterday and heard music. He followed it for half a mile before it vanished. Silence. He sat down and wept. Then he said, "I think the heat is trying to give us something to die with." I didn't know what to say to that. I still don't. But I keep hearing this from others. Visions. Memories walking beside them in the streets. Whole towns that aren't there, glimpsed just for a second between waves of heat. A woman in Tulsa saw her childhood home standing exactly where a burned-out parking lot should be. She walked up to the steps, reached for the door. It was gone. Just gone. I don't think these are dreams. I think the world is replaying itself in reverse, like a dying brain showing flashes of old light before everything shuts down. I think we're seeing echoes, and I don't know if that's terrifying or beautiful. Someone from a shelter in Dayton called in to say their children have started speaking to the air, whispering. They say there are voices outside, not scary ones, gentle, familiar, the kind you trust before you even know what they're saying. The parents tried blocking it out, earplugs, white noise, sleeping deeper in the shelter. Didn't work. The kids say the voices aren't coming from outside. They're coming from the walls, from the air itself. The mother asked me, "Is this what it looks like when everything begins to forget us?" That question hasn't left me. The more I think about it, the more I wonder if the earth itself is reacting, like it remembers something we don't. Maybe we crossed some threshold, and now it's unraveling in its own language, color, heat, memory, echoes. I can't prove any of it. I'm just a voice in a melted room. But I believe it, because what else is there to believe in now? The ground under the transmitter tower has started to crack. I can see it from the back door. It's not just drying, it's peeling, like the earth is sloughing off a layer of itself. I walked out to check it just before dawn. Couldn't stay long. The soil was warm, soft in places, brittle in others. When I pressed my hand to it, it crumbled. And beneath it, I saw roots. Not tree roots, thin, dark ones, twisted like veins. They pulsed. I pulled my hand back. Didn't sleep after that. Still haven't. I got a message this morning from a man named Conrad in Des Moines. Said he's been tracking something in the skies. A pattern. He has an old aviation radar set up in his garage. One of those antique systems hobbyists used to tinker with for fun. He says there's a loop forming. A band of energy circling the Midwest. Not clouds, not storms, something electromagnetic. He plotted its course over the last 4 days. It spins wider each cycle, as if it's scanning. He thinks it's artificial. I asked him who he thinks made it. He didn't answer. The line went dead. There's a silence now between transmissions. You can feel it. A kind of waiting, like the world's holding its breath, or like something is listening back. I don't mean to scare you. That's not why I'm here. But you deserve the truth, or at least what passes for it. And the truth is, this isn't just heat anymore. It's something bigger, something old, something that might have been buried under us long before we started building cities and calling ourselves civilized. I don't know what it is. I just know it's coming closer. Every hour. I spoke with a woman named Nora in Raleigh. She used to be a high school science teacher. Said her students once asked what would happen if the sun turned on us. She told them it wouldn't. That the sun gives life, always. That it burns, but it doesn't choose. Now she says she was wrong. Not because the sun made a choice, but because we did. She said, We built glass houses on a stovetop and thought we were smarter than fire. Then she cried. She said the hardest part now is remembering what green used to look like. I told her the same thing I'll tell you. If you have any color left, anything that grows, even a sprig of mint, even a single vine, guard it like it's your last name. Wrap it in tin foil, bury it in shade, share it only with people who understand. Because one day, that color might be the first thing we use to start again. If we ever get that chance. I've got to cool the board again. Temperature's climbing too fast. My voice is starting to slur. I know I sound tired. I am, but not silent. Not yet. I'll come back soon. As long as I can. As long as the wires don't melt and my lungs keep working. And if this voice gets smaller, thinner, more ragged, that's okay. That's how you know it's real. That's how you know I'm still here. It's 11:42 a.m. The power flickered again, and this time it came back with a high-pitched ringing in the line, like something was screaming through copper. Not words, not even sound really, just pressure. I had to step back and wait for it to pass. It's gone now, but it left a feeling in the walls, like the whole building is buzzing, like the heat reached inside the wires. I've blocked off the west window with scrap wood and an old door I tore off the maintenance closet. The light coming through it was starting to cook the floor tiles. No exaggeration. They lifted at the edges like they were trying to curl away from the sun. I don't know how much longer this place can hold. Concrete's starting to split in a line behind the mixing board. There's a crack big enough now to push a pencil into. I checked. It's warm down there, like the ground has a fever. I had a call come in from someone outside Atlanta. Said his name was Marcus. He was holed up in an old library with his sister and a neighbor's dog. Said most of the books were gone, burned, looted, used for kindling. But the reference section was still mostly intact. They've been sleeping in the elevator shaft. Said the insulation's thicker in there. The dog won't eat unless someone reads out loud. That broke me a little. I asked what they read. He said, anything about rain. That's what they're chasing now. Rain. The memory of it. The sound of it on windows. The way it smelled right before it hit pavement. They have a list they keep. Every book that mentions rain in the first 3 pages. That's how they rate them. By how soon the water comes. Marcus, if you're listening, keep reading. Keep writing. That's how we'll rebuild the sky when the fire goes out. I keep thinking about that phrase. When the fire goes out. As if this heat is something temporary. A phase. A tantrum. But it's not. This isn't weather. It's not seasonal. It's a conversion. We are watching the earth become something else. And none of our old tools are made for what's coming. I heard from someone up near Duluth again. Same man who mentioned the hissing lakes. He said the trees are weeping now. I asked what that meant. He said the bark is sweating. Sap runs down in long ropes, sticky and sour. He says it smells like burnt sugar. And the animals? Gone. All of them. Even the birds. He said, it's not that they died. It's like they left. I keep going back to something someone else said a few days ago. Elijah from Kansas City. About the clouds freezing in place. Now we've got trees crying and animals vanishing and heat that makes light bend like metal. And something else. I saw it again. Last night. Out near the power station ruins. The same shape. Still. Tall. Watching. I didn't move. Neither did it. I just stared. It had no edges, no shadow. It flickered. Then it was gone. I'm not alone here. I know that now. Whether it's my brain melting or something else. Something real. I don't know. But I'm not alone. A man named Silas sent me a message from somewhere near Salt Lake. He's been mapping what he calls hot ghosts. He says they show up in the same places at the same times every day. Not people, not animals, just heat signatures, strange shapes that rise from the ground like vapor and walk. They don't touch anything, don't speak, don't seem to notice the world at all. He thinks they're echoes, not spirits, not hallucinations, but energy trapped in the heat. Like the world's trying to replay itself from memory before it forgets how. He's cataloged 19 so far. One of them shows up every morning at 7:12 and sits on a park bench that burned down weeks ago. Every morning. Same spot. Silas, if you're hearing this, keep writing. Send coordinates if you can. I'll read them on air. Someone out there might see the same. This might be our new mythology. The Bible of the burned. Not angels, not saints. Just shapes made of heat doing what we used to do. Remembering what we forgot. Another message came in from someone in Colorado. Said her son keeps painting circles. Always red. Always spiraling outward. She didn't teach him that. He's only 4. Doesn't speak anymore, but he paints. Said the walls of their shelter are covered in them. Some as big as a mattress. Others tiny, hidden in corners. She asked if it meant something. I don't know, but I've been seeing the same shape and burn patterns across town. Melted tire marks, blisters on metal, the way shadows curl now when the sun hits pavement. It's always circular, always expanding, like the heat isn't just rising, it's reaching. Let me tell you what I believe, since belief might be the only thing we've got left. I believe the earth is not just changing, it's becoming. I believe the sun has torn something open in our atmosphere, maybe even in us, and now there's something leaking through. Memory, noise, time. Call it what you want. But I think this heat is thinking. I know. Sounds crazy. Sounds like I've lost it. But if you've seen what I've seen, if you've heard the voices whispering between static and watched the same shape move across different towns at the exact same hour, and read a child's drawing of the spiral burned into the ground outside your studio, you might think it too. I'm going to rest soon, just for an hour. I've taped aluminum over the vent slats to keep the hot air out. It works for a bit. But I'll be back, and I'll keep talking, because if we stop speaking, this thing wins. Whatever it is, whatever it's becoming, we have to speak louder than the fire, even if no one's listening, even if we're the last ones left. It's 12:26 p.m. I think the station is dying. Not in the dramatic, blown fuse, smoke in the walls kind of way. More like the death of a living thing. Quiet, slow, strange smells, flickers. A long, creeping silence that spreads between each machine like moss. The light on the transmitter blinks less now. The hum from the backup battery has a skip in it. The static between signals has changed pitch, thinner, more brittle. It used to buzz low, like breath in the walls. Now it sounds like glass cracking under weight. And the smell. It's in everything now. Hot plastic, sour sweat. Metal that's too warm to touch. The kind of smell that clings to your clothes, gets into your teeth. I keep wiping down the board, but it's not helping. There's something in the air itself now. It's in me too, I think. My skin feels dry even when soaked. My voice is cracking in places it never used to. I coughed up blood yesterday. Just a little. Just once. Still, I cleaned the mic with alcohol after. I want to stay clean. Not for health. Health is gone. But for the ritual. Like brushing your teeth on the Titanic. It matters, even if it doesn't make a difference. I got a ping this morning from a woman in Carson City. Her name is Joy. She's alone now. Her kids were sent north weeks ago with a group she trusted, volunteers with solar trucks and oxygen tanks. She stayed behind to wait for a neighbor who never showed up. Joy says she talks to shadows now. She said at first it was to fill the quiet. But now they answer. Not with voices. With shape. With posture. They follow her. When she turns, they stop. She sleeps with her back to the wall now. She said, "I'm not scared of them. I think they're listening." She asked if she's going mad. I told her no. I said the only madness left is pretending things are normal. Everything else is survival. I heard from a shelter in Baton Rouge. They've stopped trying to keep time. No clocks, no watches. Said people were getting obsessed, counting seconds between power flickers, tracing shadows on the wall, timing the decay of ice. Now they just live moment to moment. They eat when they're hungry. Sleep when the heat dips, even for a minute. Talk when the air is quiet. I don't know if that's freedom or surrender, maybe both. They've set up a wall of photos. Not family pictures. Those are gone. These are drawings, sketches of people they've lost, faces made from memory, pinned with string to the walls of a decommissioned DMV office. They call it the New Town Square. Every day someone adds a new face. No names, just eyes. One of the women there, Andrea, sends me descriptions of the new ones. She said they're all starting to look the same, as if memory is blurring them into one. I think she's right. I think the heat is making everything soft at the edges. Voices, bodies, time. I still try to read names when I can. It matters. Elias, 29, Pittsburgh. Worked at a battery plant. Tried to save backup cells from the fire. Didn't make it. Raquel, 52, Fresno, midwife. Third one we've lost this week. Delivered 2 children in the last 10 days. 1 lived. Jun, 11, Vancouver. Wrote a poem about the ocean. Taped it to the inside of a supply truck. The water used to run toward us, he wrote. Now it hides. Jun, I heard you. We all did. I keep hearing reports about roads melting, not just in the South anymore. Vermont, Minnesota, even parts of Canada now. That used to be impossible. There were jokes about Canadians wearing shorts in snowstorms. Now, they're running for shade at 6 a.m. The frost line's been erased. We used to draw maps with it, build homes around it, schedule harvests. Now it's gone. Everything is gone. The rivers aren't even rivers anymore. Just veins of hot mud dragging themselves across the dirt. Someone tried to send me a picture of a dried-up gorge near Denver. Said it looked like a wound. Said it even smelled like blood. I don't know what's real anymore. That's the hard part. It's not just the hallucinations. It's the uncertainty. The knowing that everything could be real now, because nothing we thought was permanent held. Not the laws, not the seasons, not the governments. The last official broadcast I picked up was from a relay tower outside Richmond. It cut out halfway through a sentence. The last words were, "Estimated civilian compliance remains uncertain." I laughed when I heard that. Compliance? With what? With heat? With extinction? What are we supposed to comply with now? Death? We're beyond order, beyond rules. What's left is instinct, ritual, memory, and this. Voice, wire, signal. If you're hearing this, hold on to what makes you human. Not what you were told to be, not what the world used to ask of you, but the thing inside that still lights up when you hear a story that matters. That's your compass now. I'll be off again soon. Systems draining faster today. I think the heat finally got into the inverters. I've taped them shut, packed cold packs around them, what's left of them. But the cooling gel's separating. Looks like soap now. No bite to it, just color. I might try salt. That's what someone in Yuma's been using, lining the walls with crushed rock salt. Says it reflects some of the solar radiation. I don't know if it works, but at this point, faith is almost as useful as science. Sometimes more. I'll be back when I can. If I can. This might have been a good day once. A birthday. A wedding. A day when someone held someone else's hand for the first time and felt the world shift under their feet. Try to remember it that way. Try to make today count, even if it's ugly. Even if the sky's trying to crush us, we speak, we write, we remain. It's 1:08 p.m. Something's wrong with the signal delay. There's a hitch between when I speak and when I hear myself in the monitor. It used to be instant, tight, crisp. Now it stutters, like the air between me and the antenna is thick with oil. It's not interference, it's something else, a kind of drag, like the heat is slowing sound down, one syllable at a time. I know how that sounds, but I'm telling you, there's a lag to the world now, not just the machines. United States, time, memory. You ever try to remember someone's voice and get it wrong? You hear them in your head, but their laugh's off by half a second? That's what this feels like. The voice on the air isn't quite mine anymore. It's a version of me, floating half a beat behind, trying to catch up. Maybe that's what heat stroke feels like, or maybe we're slipping out of sync with the earth itself. I heard from a man in Boise, Nathaniel. He runs a makeshift chapel out of an old car wash. He says it stays cool inside because of the ceramic tile and the shadows. He never believed in much before this, but now he holds small gatherings twice a week. People sit in the rinse bay and listen. No sermons, just stories, losses, names. One woman brought a shell from the coast and passed it around. They took turns listening to it like it might remember the sound of the ocean. Nathaniel said something I haven't stopped thinking about. Even if no one's listening, we say the names so the air doesn't forget. Maybe that's what I've been doing here all along, keeping the air honest. The names today. Colleen, 34, Albuquerque. Tended an old woman's garden until the peppers gave up. Ray, 70, Portland, once taught shop class. Was teaching kids how to build hand fans when he collapsed. Isaiah, 8, Jacksonville, loved worms, raised them in jars, buried them when they died. I've been trying to sleep in 10-minute windows. Can't do more than that. Not with the boards clicking and the pipes behind the wall making that new sound. A ticking, like knuckles against copper. It starts just after noon and fades by dusk. I thought it was air expanding. Now I'm not so sure. There's a pressure under this place, a weight. Someone from Nevada said their clocks all stop at 3:33 p.m. every day. Not slow, not drained, just stop. Then they start again 5 minutes later, exactly. I asked if it was a battery issue. They said no, it happens with watches, with digital timers, even with wind-up models. 3:33 p.m. every day. Like time's taking a break. That's not even the strangest thing I've heard today. A call came in from a group hunkered down in northern Illinois. They've sealed off an old mall and are living in what used to be a Claire's and a Radio Shack. They've strung cables from solar blankets across the atrium and routed power through busted vending machines. They call it the spine. The current runs through the mall like a nervous system now. Lights flicker in sequence, like it's breathing. They say the building speaks sometimes, not out loud, not in words, but in patterns. 3 lights blink near the old pretzel stand whenever someone's about to fall ill. 2 short flickers near the arcade whenever someone new shows up outside. No one knows how it works. They just watch and wait. And they believe. I don't blame them. When the world breaks this badly, belief becomes the only thing holding the cracks together. Even I've started talking to the board like it's listening. I ask it to hold, to keep breathing, to wait until I'm done. Yesterday, I apologized to it for shouting. I think I heard a click in response. Someone asked me last week what happens if I die here. Who takes over? What happens to the signal? The truth is, no one. There's no handoff, no schedule, no staff. It's just me and this room, and a few scavenged batteries I recharge by rigging a fan blade to a spinning bike wheel on the roof. So when I go quiet, that's it. That's the line going flat. I don't say that to scare you. I say it because we need to remember how fragile this is. Every voice that still speaks through the static is a miracle. Every broadcast is a candle in a cave. Keep yours lit, even if it's just to whisper your name into the dark. There's been talk of hallucinations becoming shared. Multiple people, across multiple states, seeing the same thing. A man standing in the middle of a field, untouched by the sun. No hat, no shadow. Eyes like ash. No movement, just watching. I've had 3 separate reports now. I don't know what it means. I don't know if it means anything. But the heat isn't just killing us, it's rewriting us. Memory, perception, vision. We used to measure reality by consensus. If everyone saw the same thing, it had to be true. But now it's breaking the other way. People are dreaming the same dreams, finishing each other's sentences when they've never met, hearing voices call them by name from radios that aren't turned on. Something's stitching itself into us, through the heat, through the signal, through the silence. Maybe it's always been there, waiting for a world quiet enough to listen. Maybe the fire isn't a punishment. Maybe it's the invitation, and we're the ones too scared to open the door. But I'll keep the mic on. I'll keep the line warm, even if the light goes out, even if the words melt before they hit the antenna, because this is still ours. The voice, the signal, the name. We keep speaking, even when no one's listening, because we remember. And remembering now is an act of resistance.